Hi everyone, this is Rebecca, and I'm back with you for part two of my 2025 prep series for figure competition. I'm a natural masters athlete hoping to compete in this summer of 2025. So I have a few months left in prep. I've been through about 8 weeks of show prep at this point. It's the end of January. I started prep at the beginning of December. It's cold here. We have a couple of feet of snow on the ground, which is typical for this time of year in the North Country. My southern family has had an opportunity to enjoy some snow this year. In South Alabama, they got about 7 inches, which is not normal, and they're not equipped to deal with it the way we are. So they're feeling they're feeling the pain. When you live up here, you just have to embrace it. You can't be stuck inside. So we've gotten out. We have a beautiful cross country ski trails in our area, and we've gotten out a couple of times to enjoy some great cross country skiing. It's also a great way to get some more steps and cardio in. So I'm trying to embrace it. Last episode, I said I would focus on the specifics of training, of my training and my goals. So let's just jump right in. This prep was a slow start, or has been a slow start for me. As I said, I've completed 8 weeks, and my numbers are down. My weight is down by about 5 pounds. My waist measurement is down an inch. My hip measurement is down an inch. I would have preferred to be further along. I wanted to average about 1.2 pounds per week to achieve my goal of competing in June, early June of this year. I'm behind, and there's some reasons for that. I'll get into that in a little bit. And so that means I may not reach my June goal, but there are all sorts of shows throughout the year. So we're just going to keep plugging along. I had a couple of reasons for why this has been a struggle. First, when you start prep the beginning of December and then have a bunch of family coming in for the holidays, it is a challenge. I did have a challenge staying on my diet, and I still got my workout, but sleep wasn't as good, and my cardio was probably not as good as it should have been. So that was one of the reasons. The other, but the good news in all of this prep is that previously I mentioned that I had some issues with my elbow. I had developed a tendonitis in my elbow. It's called a golfer's elbow. And I got help from Dr. James Johnson, who I've mentioned before. I'll show a picture of him here. Wonderful, wonderful young man. And my elbows are virtually 100%. I'm much more careful in how I do day-to-day activities. And if I do have to get out and shovel any snow or shovel snow off the roof, I'm very careful, and I do wear an elbow compression braces. And I've adjusted how I do certain exercises like lat raises and bicep curls that previously caused me to have a lot of pain. So adjusting how I do that using my VersaGrips so that I'm not squeezing and activating that tendon. And also some physical therapy movements that Dr. Johnson gave me have made a huge difference, and I'm so happy about that. The bad news is that about 2 weeks ago, I was just starting to feel like it was rolling. My weight was finally starting to drop, and I went in to do my hamstring workout, and I was doing my RDLs. And I typically enjoy doing them, and have gotten pretty heavy with them, at least heavy for me. And I was doing the same weight as I had done previously, but that day, and this would have been about 2 weeks ago, as I was doing my RDLs, they just didn't feel right. And I was trying to really focus on my form, on the hinge movement, and I was using my VersaGrips, but it just didn't feel right. So I went ahead and did a second set at the same weight. Again, okay, really focus, good breath, control the movement, and it still just didn't feel right. It wasn't that I felt any particular pain, I just felt uncomfortable. So I dropped the weight a little bit for my third set. Thought I was okay, got through the rest of my workout. The next morning, I was hurting. My lower back was bothering me and very stiff. And then the next morning, the second day after, I was in pain and realized that I had hurt myself. It was not a skeletal issue. It was definitely a muscular issue, but I had really done a number on myself and developed a lot of inflammation around that. And I'm not a big fan of taking Advil, but I finally, or anti-inflammatory, ibuprofen, whatever it is. But I did end up taking it. At one point, I was having trouble getting up from a prone position and just really in a lot of pain. And that, I struggled with that for about a week and a half. Finally, I'm better now. But what's interesting about that injury is that the inflammation that I had in my lower back, and again, I must have used bad form. And I should have listened to my body initially. I should have said if it felt uncomfortable, I should have scaled back on the weight immediately. But I didn't. I pushed myself. I'm like, I can do this. And I didn't listen to my body. And so I paid the price for that. But what's interesting is that the soreness, the stiffness of the inflammation even affected my digestion. TMI, it caused me to be constipated. Sorry, but that's what happened. And so I was just holding a lot of inflammation. My weight actually went up a pound. I was so frustrated and demoralized. And then on top of that, I was reacting to probably too much fiber in my diet, and I'll talk about the diet a little bit later. So my body was a hot mess, and I was really demoralized and felt like my body was fighting me. But you trust the process. I communicated with my coach. Gave myself an extra rest day, or she did, and gradually have gotten better. And actually, this morning I woke up, I didn't have any stiffness getting out of bed. Felt great. So that's really good news. And the lesson learned is listen to your body. If a movement that you're doing doesn't feel right, take a step back, reassess, decide what you're going to do, but move forward carefully. Before prep, moving on, before prep, we were really focusing on my lower body because my weakness in my first competition back in 2023, I needed more growth in my glutes and my hamstrings. And so we really hit those hard during building season, a good 18 months. And we were hitting lower body three times a week. But at the beginning of this prep, Cassandra, my coach, really wanted to, she felt good about the progress we'd made with lower body, wanted to sort of refocus energy into my upper body. So we scaled back to doing legs and lower body two times a week. We also changed my routine, and I don't want to give too many details because I pay my coach to put my program together, but we altered. Well, we went to a 2-on workout, 1 day off, also for this prep, and I've actually really liked that. I'm very pleased with my lat growth. And I'm hoping, really, really hoping that I can maintain that growth as I gradually cut calories and cut the fat. I hope that lat growth still remains. My stomach just grumbled. It's time to eat. I'll have lunch after this. I don't know if you heard that or not, but anyway. So I'm hoping I can maintain that lat growth. I really like this view of my lats. I'm very proud of that growth. So what am I doing? I'm continuing to do all sorts of things to help that growth happen and to maintain what I have, including rows. Here's an example of a row, and just being very intentional. I think that's what I've learned a lot about from my coach is we're not worried so much about how much weight you're pulling or pushing or lifting. It's how intentional are you in that activity. Focus on the muscle that you're moving. That mind-muscle connection is so important. It's not about ego. Yes, you want to gradually progress, whether it's hitting more reps than the previous workout or more weight. But really, really be intentional. And so take your time. Don't be using momentum to throw the weight. So this is an example of a row. And then I also, of course, am doing pull downs, both close grip and wide grip. And that just hits your lat and your upper back at different angles. This is an example of a close grip. And again, I'm not using momentum. I'm trying to keep my chest high, pulling down, really feeling that contraction. Cassandra gave me a really great cue for the lat pull down. She said, imagine putting your elbow into your back pocket. And that was a really good cue. I will say that the lat is oftentimes, or was for me at the very beginning, like 3 years ago, Cassandra would say, engage your lat. And I would say, I don't know what that means. I don't feel anything back there. But once you build a muscle, then it's easier to engage it. It's easier to feel it. And so certainly it's easier for me to have that mind-muscle connection. So if you're just beginning, be patient, keep working, try to use really good form. And as you build that muscle, it really does become easier to have that mind-muscle connection. And it's really important. Also prevents you from injuring yourself by using good form and taking your time. I want to show you all, I'm going to talk about my hip mobility. And this is a shout out to my coach, Cassandra Grippy, and her wisdom. So this video that I'm going to show, let's see if I can find it. I thought that this was the maximum I could get when it came to depth of squat. And in this video, you see I'm going down parallel, and my legs are also pretty wide. And Cassandra kept saying, no, I want you to be deeper. Take weight off. I want you to go deeper. And I'm thinking to myself, I can't go any deeper. You're out of your freaking mind. But she said, work on hip mobility, and we did. And I spent a lot of time trying to improve my mobility, including sitting in a squat. When I first started just sitting in a squat, I could maybe stay there for comfortably for maybe 30 seconds. I can now stay there for 2 to 3 minutes comfortably. And that's huge. It took me a year to get to that point, but it's huge. By taking weight off, again, not by being guided by ego, but by taking weight off, I was actually able to improve my depth. So in this next, I have 2 videos, but you'll see how much lower. If you look at this compared to the previous video, I'm below parallel, and I'm continuing to get even lower. It's important that you still maintain good form, that your heel stays on the ground, and that your hips are not, your back is not tucking under. But you can see what a difference, and this happened from just time and working on that mobility and listening to my coach and trusting the process. So really, really happy. The other thing that we did was we adjusted how I was breathing. Whenever I would go down into a squat, I was taking a big breath and holding it, going down and coming back up and releasing. And now I am breathing in as I'm going down and blowing out as I'm coming up. And I found that I felt more confident, more energy. You'll notice in the videos that I wear knee braces and also a waist brace, and this just makes me feel more comfortable. And I have had some knee issues in the past because I used to run, and by wearing these knee braces, I can feel very confident, much more confident and secure in doing the squats. So I love them. I also use them for when I do my leg presses as well. The other thing that I'm really working on is my posing practice. Got a little bit rusty, got a little bit of out of practice. This video, I don't have my heels on, but I want to show this to you. So you'll see the 2 guys walking by, but then you're going to see my different poses. That first one is the front pose. This is a side pose. Really happy with my ability to twist my waist. That's something I've really had to work on. And trying to open up the lats. And you can see my rear delts here looking pretty good. Making your lats release like this or open up is pretty tricky, and I've really been helped through the Autumn Cleveland posing workshops or her posing course. And if you're looking for help with posing and you don't have a posing coach locally, you can purchase her posing workshop. It's very, very helpful. But one of the keys I discovered with opening up that lat, and the lat is this muscle back here, is really making sure your traps are disengaged, your shoulders are down, your chest is up, and you're actually not flexing that lat so much as you're inhaling and filling in that, and almost relaxing to open it up. And so it's very, very tricky. So I encourage you, if you want to compete and you're having trouble activating your lats, get a posing coach. And again, I certainly highly recommend Autumn Cleveland's posing course as well. That was very helpful to me. And I still have room for improvement, but I am making progress. And I'm beginning to improve, get my flexibility back up. And we'll get back to posing in the shoes as well. Other things going on in this prep. I wanted to mention that in my first prep, Cassandra she gave me my macros, how many calories I could work with, how many of those calories needed to be from carbohydrates, how many needed to be from proteins, fat, fiber, all of those things. So she gave me numbers to meet, but I had some flexibility, at least in the beginning, in how I could meet and build my food plan. As I got closer to show date, that became more and more strict as she removed things that I had been using. This prep, she's put me on a specific plan So I don't have any flexibility with my macros. She's telling me what to eat. And at first I wasn't sure how I felt about it. But I get it. I understand why. Because it's much easier for her as a coach to oversee and understand, okay, if Becky's having digestive issues, what in our diet here could be causing those issues, and what can we do to adjust them. So if I'm eating everything, the same thing every week, every day, it's boring, sure, but it's also easy to see what we need to adjust and how to make those adjustments. So I get it. And it's sort of a cool experiment to see, you know, how do I feel about this prep versus the last prep. I know it's definitely easier for Cassandra. So whatever works, whatever gets us to where we need to go. So to sum it up, my impressions of this prep, it's been rough. There have been times, weeks when I've felt fantastic, and times when I felt discouraged and demoralized, and obviously dealing with injuries was a real bummer. And I have to learn. There are some people that you have to push them to push themselves. I might be the opposite of that. Sometimes I need to be told to slow down. And so the other issue for me is I'm almost 60, and I watch videos of these younger competitors, and I tend to compare myself to them, which is ridiculous. Not only that, but I'm almost 60, and I'm a new competitor. So I shouldn't even be comparing myself to a master's competitor that's been doing this for 10, 20 years. So my coach reminds me, you are comparing yourself to your previous you, not someone else. And so that's sometimes hard for me to hear, sometimes hard for me to accept. And so I'm having to adjust that and be real with myself, and be proud of the fact that I'm 60, or almost, but also be aware that I'm almost 60. Speaking of that, one of my bodybuilding acquaintances, Matt Batali, sent me a message a couple of months back. And it was so sweet. And it was very thoughtful, but it was also kind of funny because he was trying to build me up, and he was saying, you know, most people your age wouldn't be attempting to do what you're trying to do. So good on you for starting at this age, doing, you know, really pushing your body so hard. And I had to laugh because it was sort of a backhanded compliment. And Matt, if you see this, I love you. And I really appreciate it. And keep bringing the positivity to me. But the reality is that actually, this is the prime of my life. I am in a position now, financially and time-wise and career-wise, that this is actually an easier time for me. I have such respect for women and men who are parents of young children, who are competitors and who are working full-time and, you know, trying to raise a young family. I don't know that I would have been able to do it. The other handicap that I had too was I was not in a place financially where I could afford to compete. Competing in bodybuilding is expensive. It's an expensive hobby, and let's be frank, it is a hobby. I'm not making any money on any of this. I'm not sponsored by anyone, and most people aren't. It's a labor of love. You do the sport because you love the sport, not because you're going to make money out of it. Some people can, but very, very few. But I'm in a position now, financially, where we can afford to do this, and my husband's super supportive. I'm self-employed. I don't work full time. My kids are adults now. You know, they don't they don't need me on a day-to-day basis. I mean, they need me, but they don't. They don't. I don't have to make sure that I'm getting them to practice or change a diaper or any of those things. They're in good shape. So I'm in a really good place in my life right now, and so this is a privilege for me, and this is the prime of my life. I'm stronger now. I'm happier now. So I'm loving 59, and I plan on loving 60. So anyway, our choices. The only other thing I wanted to mention is our choices, even at the age of 60, do affect others. And I have a gym buddy that a young woman who goes to my gym, and a couple of years ago we became acquainted with one another, and she was really struggling to build muscle, really wanted to build muscle, but was really struggling. And we chatted about it a little bit, and I asked her about, her diet and how many calories she was consuming. And her calories were very low. And she did admit to me that she was sometimes struggling with her relationship with food. And so I encouraged her to get some help with that. I didn't give her any advice because that's not my expertise, but I encouraged her to connect with that, to figure that out before she pushed herself or had too many expectations about gaining a lot of muscle. So over the last couple of years, she's really worked on that. And I'm watching this young woman, this muscle growth happen, and she's blooming, and it's just, I'm so proud of her. And the other day we were at the gym, and she got a text from another girlfriend, another young woman, who was obviously inspired by this, my friend's progress. And her friend was saying, why can't I build any muscle? And so this young lady, my friend, asked her, well, how many calories are you consuming? And the young lady came back and said, 900. And this is a young woman that's 5'7". And she was only consuming 900 calories. And when my friend told me this, she was like, can you believe only 900 calories? She expects to gain muscle? And it just made me so happy because of how much progress she had made and how much she had learned. So what you do does affect other people. People are watching, and live by example, and you just might inspire even just one person. And if you inspire just one person, guess what? That one person just might inspire 2 or 3 or 4 people. So, get out there, and champions are made in difficult times. Remember that. And remember, as my friend James says on his t-shirts, there are no walls, there are only hurdles. Get out there and face whatever age you are. Me, 59, I'm facing it, kicking ass, having fun, loving it, and we're going to make it. So I'll talk to you again in a few weeks and give you another update on how this prep is going. Hopefully, we'll have some more good news to share. God bless. Peace.